So in high school, I started experiencing with different kinds of drugs. I was open to most kind of drugs, but for a while I wanted to avoid opioids and benzos because my dad was addicted to opioids and neither of them really seemed worth it to me. But eventually, for whatever reason, I changed my mind and decided to try some of them. First, I tried some lorazepam that my friend gave me one from her script, but it just made me feel kind of tired and made me fall asleep. And I don't really count that experience as a drug I've tried because the experience was nothing. But a while after that, I'd get another chance to try something new. My friend Tony met this guy named Jordan who said he had Percocet, and Tony offered to get me some. Jordan was actually in my last period class, so Tony had just paid for mine earlier in the day, and Jordan gave me in class, and I took it as soon as he gave it to me, and it was a lot weaker than I thought it would be, but I did enjoy the experience. I did feel kind of high and relaxed for the rest of the school day. Tony took those same pills from the same batch, and he had a pretty similar experience to mine from what I remember. And a while after that, Jordan said he had Klonopin, and Tony bought some and invited me over to his house after school to try it, which was pretty exciting because since the lorazepam didn't really do anything for me, this would be my first benzo experience. So once we got to his house, we both took it. We both took one, and we walked over to the nearby grocery store just to get some snack. And after walking around the store a little bit, I started to feel it. I had a nice body high, and I was feeling out of it mentally, and I remember having a lot of fun walking around the store like that. There was specifically, I remember there was this display with like bathroom stuff, and there was this bath bomb powder in this jar, and I stuck my hands into it and I was playing with it, which felt really good. And after we were done at the store, we walked back to Tony's house and we hung out in his room for a while. But eventually we started to think something was wrong. Although we both did feel high, it was much, much weaker than it should have been for how much we took and how long it had been. And after talking about it for a while, Tony grabbed one of the pills and looked up the pill ID number online, and they came up as Tylenol. So basically, we had gotten scammed. Jordan had sold Tony Tylenol as Klonopin, and also the Percocets from before were also Tylenol. And instead of realizing this or admitting this, we both continued to gaslight ourselves into thinking it was real. Basically, Tony said they could have used Tylenol pills as an outer shell for the Klonopin, which doesn't make any sense at all. I don't know how that would work. I don't know why a dealer would do that, but I didn't question it because I thought they had to be at least somewhat real. Sure, they weren't very strong, but I didn't think I could have gotten the effect that I did for just placebo. And I think honestly part of it was I didn't want to admit how dumb I was. So Tony messaged our friend Isaac about the situation, and he kept telling us that there was no way it wasn't placebo, but we didn't listen to him. And embarrassingly after this, Tony continued to buy Tylenol from Jordan, and we both pretended to get high on it like at least 5 more times after this. We did the quote-unquote Klonopin a few more times, and I remember going home after leaving Tony's place, and I basically got pissed off that the fake Klonopin wasn't strong enough, and so I got nearly blackout drunk because I kept drinking alcohol to try to make it stronger. And we did some more of the Percocet, quote unquote Percocet too, a few more times. One of them, I took it before I went to my doctor's appointment, and so I was like fake high at the doctor's appointment and worried that he would notice I was being weird or that like my heart rate was slow or something. And there was even one point where he asked me if I did any drugs. It's just like a routine thing, and I almost told him that I was on Percocet, which would have been really bad because I wasn't even actually on Percocet. I was on fucking Tylenol. But Jordan also said that the Tylenol was Xanax, And he said it was a couple other things too. He said it was some other benzo that I don't remember, I'm pretty sure, because basically what would happen is Tony would ask him if he had a certain kind of benzo or opioid that he wanted to try, and Jordan would be like, yeah, sure, and just sell him Tylenol, because after a while he realized that we'd fall for it no matter what he said it was. But eventually Tony stopped buying from them because his stuff wasn't very good. I mean, we still weren't convinced that it wasn't at least somewhat real, but it wasn't very good or strong. And there was one time where I hung out with both of them and we smoked a blunt with Jordan in his car, but after that we both stopped talking to Jordan and we didn't get anything from him. But we both ended up thinking that those drugs we tried that was really Tylenol was real for like way too long after this, for like years after this. I went around telling people that I've done all of these drugs before, and I even put Percocet in A tier on one of my super old drug tier lists. It wasn't until years later that I finally looked back on things and thought critically about it that I realized it definitely was Tylenol, and how fucking dumb I was. And now I just cringe thinking back to then. Like at least 7 different times I pretended to get high on Tylenol and told people I took all these different drugs. I made my partner at the time worry about my safety because I said I was doing all these dangerous drugs and it was just fucking Tylenol. Tony literally looked up the pill number that said it was Tylenol, and our friend kept telling us there was no way it could be real, and he still bought from Jordan like 7 more times and pretended to get high with me after that, even though basically proven that it wasn't real at that point. I think it's even more embarrassing that Tony fell for it than me, because he had actually done some of these drugs before, like Percocet, and he actually knew what they were like, and he's the one who paid money for it, but he was always really gullible and got scammed all the time, so I can't say I'm surprised. Not to say that I wasn't an idiot in the situation too, but honestly, as embarrassing as this whole situation is for me, I'm glad it happened this way, because as I've gotten a bit older and more mature, I realized that I don't want to try benzos or opioids anymore, especially back then when I was stupid enough to fall for this. I wouldn't have been smart enough or careful enough to do those kind of drugs, dangerous drugs, safely or carefully. And I'm honestly glad it ended up this way, because I think it's still a better outcome than if we actually ended up getting what we wanted, even if it was us getting scammed and making a fool out of ourselves. Especially since I've seen my old friends, Tony especially, take opioids and benzos and get addicted to them and start seeing how horrible it was. That I think it just proved that I was right when I originally thought it wasn't worth it, and I'm glad that when I changed my mind, I didn't actually end up doing them, even though it was really embarrassing that I just took Tylenol and pretended to get high on it. Plus, I think it at least makes for an interesting story. It's interesting to me that placebo can be that powerful, and it makes me wonder how much of a role plays in my experiences with drugs today, how much of it is placebo and how much of it is the actual effects, because I know that's still a major part of it. And hopefully you guys got something out of my story, whether it was insight to be more careful and think critically about your drug transactions or taking drugs, or if it was just laughs or entertainment at how dumb me and my old friends used to be back in high school. But I hope you enjoyed it either way. I know I say this in every video I upload, but I'm sorry. I'm so bad at putting out videos consistently. It's been really hard to stay motivated enough to work on things. This is short enough that I should have been able to finish it in a few days, but I kept getting lazy and putting it off for like weeks and weeks, which is something I'm trying to work on, but I'm not gonna promise that it's gonna get better anytime soon, because I don't want to break that promise. But probably the next video I'm gonna work on is gonna be my first trip report video in 6 months, but there's also one more shorter story time video I want to do too, so I might do that first. I don't know yet. But last thing I want to say is I have a Discord server still that I'm trying to work on, and I'd really appreciate it if you joined. It'll be linked in the description. It's 18 plus, so please don't join if you're underage, unless you have harm reduction questions. If you're underage, you can join and ask your questions, but then you'll have to leave. But you can also put any harm reduction questions you have for me in the comments on this video or any of my other videos if you need to. But my server has been dead for a while, but recently I've started to get it a little bit active again, and I think if I put out videos more often and more people from my channel join, we can actually get it pretty active. But thanks for watching. I'll see you guys again soon, hopefully. Goodbye.